Hey, what's up everyone? Today I wanted to do an OP04 Black Lucci deck. This deck has been doing really well at different regionals around the world, different sort of events, locals, championships, store championships, all sorts of stuff like that, so I wanted to try my hand at making my own. Going into the leader, we've got Lucci. Once per turn, discard 2 cards from your hand. When an opponent's character is KO'd, set this leader as active. Really strong, so it means you can do stuff like swing 9 into your opponent, summon Sakazuki, KO something, reset Lucci, swing another 9. Really good for getting a bunch of characters and other stuff like that off the field, or just swing into your opponent's life multiple times in one turn. So let's go into Isuka. 3 cost for 1 Dawn. Once per turn, when this character battles and KOs an opponent's character, set this character as active. Really strong. Kind of acts as a black Basil Hawkins, just not quite as good, but also lower cost with a counter. So really good for the Zoro matchup, especially. Law pretty good against that too. Any deck that's putting a bunch of little bodies on the board, this card is really good against, and you need to see it. So I put 2 of her at least. Might bump it up depending on how many Zoro or Law are in the format going forward. So we have the card that you always want to see on curve, turn 2 going second. 4 Kuzans, one of the best cards in the deck. On play, draw 1, and then when attacking, -4 to anything. And that brings us to Sakazuki. Sakazuki and Kuzan are the perfect curve that you want to see if everything is going your way, obviously. So you want to see Kuzan going turn 2, Sakazuki going turn 3. That way you can KO basically anything they put on the board with Sakazuki at that point. And he's also just a 7k swing, which is pretty brutal for your opponent to deal with. We've got 4 Surus, 2k counter, -2 on play. Pretty basic, almost in every black deck. 4 Borsalinos because he's a 6k blocker that can't be KO'd and a 4 cost with a counter, so literally one of the best cards in the game. He's like a $15 super rare, something ridiculous like that. We've got 2 Kuzan because his on-play effect is a KO of 5 or less, which is really good. And then his Your Turn effect is all your opponent's characters get -5 to their cost. So instantly, coming out of the gate, he's KOing a cost 5 or less, and then going forward, he can help you KO a cost anything, basically. We've got 2 Isho. Your turn, all of your opponent's characters get -3 to their cost, so a little bit mini iteration of a Kuzan. And then also on play, if your opponent has 6 or more cards in their hand, trash 2 cards from your opponent's hand. I do believe you get to choose because it doesn't say your opponent trashes 2 cards from their hand, which makes this even stronger. Really good against Whitebeard and stuff like that. Nami, different decks that just like to hold a bunch of cards in hand. 4 Fukuru because he's a blocker that can't be KO'd. Not really much else to say about that. 4 Brand New because he searches for the Navy cards, and he's a turn 2. So exactly what we want in this deck, because we don't really want to go first. We can go first, we can play going first if we need to, but we really want to go second. 4 Sabos because he makes every single card that you have not be able to be KO'd until the next turn. Really good against the Black Mirror match especially, and even stuff like Yellow, because Yellow doesn't have a ton of removal that's not KOing. Stuff like Thunderbolt, Buzzcut Mochi won't be able to work. They still will be able to like Katakuri you, but they're healing you ultimately, which I have a thing about healing my opponent. I don't love it. 2 7-cost Luffys, really good. You're gonna be putting stuff in your trash with Leo, with Brand New, with different sorts of stuff, with trashing a card from your hand constantly with the KO effect. So you're probably going to be able to activate this Luffy at least once per game if you ever get it on the board. So it's really good option, especially if you're going first. Really good 7 Dawn curve. Not much else to say. 1 or 2 1-cost Leos because you can rest your leader and then KO something. So it's not the best effect in the world, but it does work. Let's say you have like, Kuzan, Isho, something on board. Now you can KO something with a higher cost for 1 Dawn, and then you can reset your leader with his effect right after, so you don't have to waste the leader attack that turn. You've got 4 Tashigis, 3 cost, 2k counter. On main, rest this character and give one of your opponent's characters -2. Really good card, used in almost all black decks. Want to see it going turn 2, going first, to play 1 or 2 on the field. I never play more than 1 or 2, and I just leave the rest for 2k counters in hand. We've got 4 Kobes, rest this character and KO an opponent's characters with a cost of 2 or less. Now this is not once per turn, so if there's any way to reset him in the future, that'll be pretty interesting. But yeah, basically this is a KO effect that doesn't require us to trash a card from our hand, which is why it's better than the other Kobe, it's better than the other Garp, because we want to keep a healthy hand to be able to use Lucci's effect as often as possible, or at least have the option if we ever need it. We've got one Shanks, because if you have Isho and Kuzan on the board and stuff like that, Shanks can do some really silly stuff. Really good against Zoro, which is one of the hardest matchups just in the format in general. Really good against Law, and the rest of the low-cost decks. 2 Sky Slicers for the Rebecca matchup and the Blurple Kaido matchup, KOing the stage. Not the most useful thing in the world. Also KOs a character with 0 or less, or Acosta 0, I guess. So, not the worst thing in the world. Mostly just used for the Rebecca matchup. I would play only one, but Rebecca almost always has 2 stages, and they can recycle them. So, with the prevalence of Rebecca, I do play 2. And I play 1 Ennie's Lobby. This could be any other card that you want it to be, like Shockwave or something like that. 2K counter maybe. Another Leo, another Shanks, anything you want. I put Ennie's Lobby just because if you're going, it's like gives you a 5th brand new almost, you know what I mean? Not really, but it gives you another card going first. Well, another card going on your first turn going second to play, you know what I mean? So now you have 5 2 costs that you could play first turn. That's the only reason I really play it. It's also a decent trigger, and it's just a good stage. -2 at anything is pretty brutal, and there's no removal of it for the most part. Nobody's really playing Sky Slicer in a ton of decks or anything like that. So, I hope you guys like the list, and now let's go into the gameplay. Okay, so we're playing against Green Purple Dofi here. They do choose to go second because they want to play Nami going second so they can deploy and activate. So I go first. I choose to pass onto his turn, and he passes back to me immediately, and I attach 1 to Lucci and swing with 6, and then follow it up with a brand new. I go with Suru here, so I have at least 1 2K counter, plus it'll be handy with the Kobe I have in hand or the Sakazuki if I need it later. So I choose to go with the Suru. No stages to worry about for Tempest Sky Slicer either, but also it's a CP9 card, so it's not available for brand new anyways. He attacks with 7, and I take and get a Toshigi 2K counter from life. Draw into a Leo. I have 2 10-drop Kuzans in my hand, which is always a not great feeling. You only want 1 in your hand ever, I would say, but you know, we'll see what happens. So I think I'm going to play Suru here to bait out the sugar effect. I could play Leo, but then it would rest my leader, and I don't really necessarily want that because I want my leader to be able to attack into sugar, and sugar immediately is going to rest brand new, so he can't attack into her, and I'm going to go 5 into sugar with Lucci. Doesn't protect, not going to use card action. And then I'm going to hard summon Kuzan, get a Sabo, and pass. So I've definitely got like quite the board dominance here, especially with Sakazuki coming out next turn potentially. So I'm not super worried unless he plays another sugar, then that would kind of impact the way I play, but probably not because then I could just KO the sugar with the Sakazuki, but you don't necessarily want to KO sugar with an attack or with a KO effect. You kind of want to KO her with a leader attack, ideally, if possible. So 5 cost Queen comes out. He's going to draw a few cards, which is pretty annoying for me. Probably gets him closer to the 10-drop Dofi if he doesn't already have one in hand. Attack 6 to me, I'm probably going to use a 2K counter because I have plenty of cards in hand, so not too worried about it. Oh no, I decided to take actually. I don't think that's too bad of a choice either. Top deck Borsalino. Few different options I could go with here. Going to attack with 6 with Lucci into life. He's probably going to use some sort of event. Yep, Punk Gibson, rest Kuzan, so that was a little bit of a misplay there. I probably should have attacked first with Kuzan no matter what, but I didn't ultimately need Kuzan's effect to KO something, so it is fine. Could use Lucci to reset here, but only gonna attack for 6, so I deem it really not worth it. I think when and when you don't use Lucci's effect is kind of what sets apart the good and the great players from this deck. I don't claim to be great at it by any means. I'm sure I probably missed a golden opportunity with that effect once or twice in this game itself, but I do think that is really what sets apart the good from the great players when using Rob Lucci, is when and how you're using his effect, because it is so strong. So he plays Nami and Buena, draws a 7-cost Luffy, so we can probably expect that plus an Uda or a Nami next turn, and he swings 7 into Kuzan. I'm probably going to counter out of it because Kuzan's a particularly good card that I want to keep. Probably going to use a Tashigi and a Kobe to counter. Yep. Top deck Fukuru with 9 Dawn left. One Dawn to Kuzan turn if I want to use him, which I will probably end up using Kuzan immediately. So I attach 2 to Lucci here and swing into life with 7. He is probably gonna Punk Gibson my Kuzan once again, which I kind of counted on that, to be honest. I wasn't really surprised by it this time, and I didn't really need his effect to minus anything, so I was like, yeah, it's fine. I'll do this before I summon anything else, that way he doesn't rest a blocker or anything more useful. So I sing 9 to life here. No events in hand, so he's probably going to have to take that. And then I'm going to go ahead and summon a Sabo, which doesn't really matter against his deck. A Borsalino probably would have been just fine. I don't think purple has any KO effects, or at least purple Dofi uses any KO effects specifically. Sometimes they can risk stuff. I guess it saves me from weaklings if he's running that on the off chance, but yeah, not a super great card, but does help just a little bit. Also, Rob Lucci can kind of overcome the 10-drop Dofi effect by just resetting him if you can KO something, so that's pretty cool too. I think that actually comes up later in this game. So he plays Luffy into Nami, which probably means he hasn't seen an Uda yet, unfortunately, because Uda was like just objectively the right play there if he has it. So that kind of hurts. It's not too bad for him because I would be able to handle the Uda anyways. I have plenty of KOs in my deck and everything like that, but at the same time, yikes. So I think I'm going to pitch Fukuru here because he's not the best and he can be rested by Sugar. Top deck Tashigi, which is never a bad thing, and now I'm probably going to use my attacks first here, kind of see what he does. Probably going to attack into the Nami and -4 to the Luffy. He'll probably block with the Luffy because people just always block with the first attack for whatever reason. And then I'll probably drop the Kuzan, KO the Luffy, and then just swing in with Sakazuki and Lucci. That's my assumption at what I'm going to do. I am watching this back after all. So I go for the Kuzan for a brand new, or Suru more likely. Yep. Get rid of the Suru because I don't have anything that can like return her to the hand or anything. I pop the Luffy. Not going to worry about the Lucci effect once again because I only have 5k. No reason to use it at a time like that. Going to swing into Nami here to force some more cards out of his hand because there's no way he's going to let her die that easily. Or at least he shouldn't, rather. So yeah, force another counter out of his hand. Attack 7 into Nami with Sakazuki. And I do end up KOing the Nami, but I don't choose to use Rob Lucci's effect, and I just pass because I want to keep a nice healthy hand. Still plenty of One Piece to play in this game. So 10 Dawn turn, I have 3 characters rested. Dofi would be a good option, but he chooses to go with the Luffy Uda here, which is a pretty good combo. He kind of feels like he's probably on a back foot at this point, so 2 blockers on the field is not going to be a bad turn at all. I think I actually do have the resources to KO both of them if needed, which is interesting. So he swings 5 into a Kuzan is my assumption, and I'm going to block with Sabo probably. Yep. And now he might do 6 to Kuzan, and I'll block with Tashigi. Oh, 6 to 7. I think he misclicked there. There was literally no reason for him to do that. I'm sure that was a misclick. I don't think it could have been anything else. So he swings 6 into 7 Sakazuki for some odd reason. So he's got 2 blockers. I'm probably going to KO the Uda immediately because she's a problem. You just really can't attack if the Uda's still on the field. I'm gonna trash probably Tashigi because Suru is just a better form of her. Or maybe Borsellino because I don't really need him at this point. Oh, I trashed Suru, which I don't really agree with. Tashigi would have been much better. Choose not to use Rob Lucci's action once again. And now I'm going to... I should swing first here. I think I don't swing before summoning Kobe. I summon Kobe first before swinging with somebody, which was pretty silly. Looking back at it, really silly and unneeded. So I do have to replace someone here, unfortunately, that I don't want to. And I trash my Sabo because figure at this point I really don't need any blockers. So I KO the other Luffy and swing into life with 5. At best he has Punk Gibson to rest my other Kuzan, which he doesn't. Uses a Thunder Bagua. Attack fails. Swing with 7 to Nami, which she will probably have to take it. Yep. Choose not to activate Lucci's effect once again, and now swing 10 to life. Takes. And I choose not to swing with that Kuzan on the off chance of a Dofi. He would probably already choose the 3 I have rested, but no reason to get greedy. Yep, Dofi comes out just like I suspected. And does not freeze leader, funnily enough. But freezes all my KO effects, I suppose, so that's pretty decent. So I'm going to attach 4 Dawn to Lucci, attack into life with 9. He uses Hell's Judgment to -3 to Sakazuki and Lucci, which is pretty frustrating. Counters 2k Chopper Blocker with 7. I attach 2 to Sakazuki. Or, sorry, 2 to Kuzan, swing 7 into life. And then I just put up a Borsellino just in case anything were to get super goofy. Don't want to leave myself too open. I don't think there's any possible way I could have lost anyways, but better be safe than sorry. Now I have another active for the second Dofi drop if he happens to do it. Not that it would matter because I pretty much put him in a bad spot at this point. There's no way he can really win, I wouldn't think. Yep, second Dofi comes out. Just a little bit too little too late. He would have needed to see that card like the second he hit 10 Dawn, or maybe even use Thunder Bagua to ramp himself to 10 Dawn at the same turn I did. But pretty good game. Definitely not bad. He does 10 to Kuzan. Gonna block with the 2k counter, which is unfortunate for him that I had another counter in hand. But I also could have just blocked with Borsellino, so it didn't really matter. So I block with Borsellino, the 5k. For free, passes to me, and this is going to be game no matter what. Because I can just reset my own Lucci by KOing Buena. Use card action, trash the rest, and now I have plenty of attacks for no matter what he has. So I swing 12 to life, and he does not have the counter, so I win. So I hope you guys enjoyed the gameplay. This is a really, really strong black deck in my opinion. I really enjoy playing it. I think it could use 1 or 2 more tweaks to make it perfect, but I think it's really, really strong and pretty underrated right now. I wouldn't be surprised if we see it taking a couple of tournaments here in the future. So if you enjoyed, please like and subscribe, and until the next one, see you guys.